Stacey Gothard, welcome to You Do What. Thank you for meeting me at the Chinese restaurant.
Thank you for shutting down the whole restaurant for me to be here.
All comedy happens in dark, dingy, underground cellars. Do you think they do that on purpose to weed out people with claustrophobia?
I mean, I feel like they could do it to weed out the women. The amount of gigs that I have like walked down a cobblestone road and be like, this is where I die. This is where I die. And then you're like going down, the roof is leaking for some reason, God knows what. They say it's a full house, there's 4 people. And you're like, I'm not leaving here alive. But I do, maybe it's also to get the claustrophobics, 2 in 1.
Do you think you can be happy and a comedian?
No. Absolutely not. If you ever seen a happy comedian, it's because they quit comedy or decided to kill themselves the next week. That's the only reason they're happy.
Can you think not of one single happy comedian?
I can think of bad comedians because they're usually the happy ones. Because that's why they're bad at comedy, because they've had nothing go wrong in their life and they're just happy people. They have nothing to talk about. What are they going to talk about? How much their mum loved them? That's just ridiculous. They're so stupid.
As a female comedian, how can I use fashion to my advantage?
I mean, from experience, having your tits out works pretty well,
Yeah.
Because the men, even if they're not paying attention to the comedy, they're paying attention to you. Plus also you kind of get this untapped market, which is the cougars who haven't quite realized that they're bisexual yet. They're my favorite audience, because there'll be a drunk woman come up to me after the show, tightest leopard print dress you've ever seen in your life. You're really great. I just want to say, you're beautiful. You're so beautiful.
What if you don't have tits?
I really can't help you. I think if you don't got tits, you just got to work what you got. I mean, I think, honestly, men are the stupidest creatures that have ever walked the planet. And if you're, going for fashion in comedy in a way to, how do I say this? Attract the audience. You just got to work what you got. Men will fuck anything. They'll fuck a back of a knee if they really want it, So if your knees are banging, you show them,
I think men are funnier than women.
I think you haven't met the right women.
Well, I think it's because men are more likely to listen to their instincts.
No, I think that's absolutely fine. Everyone has the right to their own opinion, even if your opinion is wrong. And it's true. I obviously have the right, but your opinion is wrong. But also, I grew up in a family full of women. There was my grandfather, yes, but my grandmother was a scientist back in the day when women weren't scientists, got into university on a piano scholarship. My mum's a civil litigation barrister up in Queensland, also a black belt in karate. And then my aunt, and also my mum, not married, my aunt, not married. My aunt is a accountant for one of the big 4. Then I've got 2 younger cousins, also both girls. One of them ridiculously good at sport, also the biggest bitch you've ever met in your life in the most fantastic, intimidating way. And the other one is studying engineering at the University of Queensland and had ridiculously high top marks. So I grew up in a family full of women that are very confident. And I don't understand where men get their confidence from, because I've never, my grandfather, loved my grandfather so much. But my grandma basically married, he was a pretty boy. He had no education. He left school at 14 and he was just really pretty. My grandma was the breadwinner. So in my eyes, I was taught that men are eye candy. That's what they're there for. Even my dad was a bodybuilder when I was conceived. Men in my life have just been there to be pretty. And so I think women are more confident in the right situations. Women can be goofy. I just think society isn't used to it yet. You ever seen a drunk woman eat a kebab in the gutter? That is the funniest thing I've ever fucking seen in my... You ever seen a bachelorette party that thinks they're the hottest thing in the bar and they've just got their skirts up? That is hilarious. You ever seen a woman try and argue about her soy latte not being hot enough? That is the goofiest thing I've ever seen. It's just, unfortunately, so many of the things that men do are just taken as funny. If you see the things that women do as funny, or like you see women as equals truly to men, it is hilarious. Like I watched my mother once throw chips through the window at the McDonald's server because they put the chips upside down in a bag. That is the funniest menopausal rage I have ever seen in my life.
Why then isn't there more women in comedy?
God, so many reasons. I mean, one, just the men in comedy is a huge reason. Like, when you're starting comedy, you're just like doing a bunch of open mics, which, like, for people who don't know, is just where you have to put your name down and you wait for a spot and you wait there for fucking hours whilst you hear like every single like straight white dude have like a fucking rape joke or a porn joke, and he thinks it's the most revolutionary thing that he's ever heard in his life, or he has a joke about how he fucking hates his girlfriend, you know, even though his girlfriend is a supermodel and he looks like he fucking crawled onto this planet, you know? Like, that's what it always fucking looks like. And I'm like, why are you saying this? Like, also, she's the one with the money, I can tell, because you're at a fucking open mic. And then you always get like hit on, or they just ask you the stupidest things, and it's hard to make friends there because men are like already just so stupid, and you can't have a normal conversation with them. So I feel like they can make it really hard to sort of break into the scene. Like when I first started, I was one of the only female comedians, especially like my sort of time in there, like the amount of time I'd been in there, I was the only one who sort of started at that time. So I was the only female I would see, and you see people drop off, or the other females that you do see, they're like a bit above you and you don't know how to approach them. And so I think like the men in comedy are a huge reason. And then I also think that, like, as I was saying before, every comedy gig ever is in a place that looks like it was a rape dungeon once. And I just don't know. I don't really want to be here. Like, as I say, there's like, it's always downstairs too. I don't know why it's always downstairs. So just go down the dark stairway. Just go down there, past the three dudes who have never fucked anything in their life, and that's all they want to do desperately. Go down more stairs, and then you'll find 4 people sitting in front of a microphone in a room, not laughing. What else is the barrier? I guess also, I feel like women don't have as, like, men just think that, again, it's always back to men. I really hate men. I really hate them so much. Like, I love them sometimes, but rarely.
I'm sensing a little something there.
I feel like it's fine. They've had their time. They had, like, 10,000 years. It's my turn now. But I think also men are just, like, women have more forethought, if that makes sense. Like, men are like, I'm the fucking funniest cunt you ever fucking met. They're like, I'll tell you a joke, and it's about their mate Steve, and the punchline is just that Steve's gay. Also, there's no pretext about why Steve's gay or why that's funny. The joke is just like, my mate Steve, he's like gay, and I'm like, cool. Women have forethought. Women know, like, oh, I have to have like a talent or a writing ability, or like I have to say A, B, and C for this to make sense. Like, women just sort of think through it a bit more, and I sometimes think that overthinking or that thinking just makes them a bit scared to do it. It's a very intimidating thing that men should be more intimidated by before starting, but they don't. They're just like, this is what I want to be,
You talk about sex and relationships quite openly in your comedy. Have you always been like that with those topics, or have you leaned into it since going into comedy?
I guess I've always been open, like, to a certain extent. Like, I grew up in an environment that really allowed you to be honest. I think comedy is maybe a sort of area that appreciates those kind of stories. But also, I was very careful at the start of doing comedy really not to mention it too much, because I didn't want to be just seen as only telling sex and relationship jokes, which I think women can fall into sometimes in comedy. Or the problem is, though, is like sex and relationships is such a fundamental part of the female existence. Like, you're growing up, when are you going to get married? Like, you got to stay a virgin for X amount. Like, so much of our life, and also like guarding our sexuality, being like, please don't rape me, that'd be great. So much of our life is spent focused on that sex and relationships is a bigger part of a female's life. So it is sort of more relatable to women. That's why I think sometimes men have an opportunity to joke about a higher range and a broader range of things outside of sex and relationships, because they get to enjoy those parts of life. You know, they have jokes about their dog taking a shit in the park, whilst when I'm in the park and my dog's taking a shit, I'm like, is there anyone in the bushes? Maybe I should take out an earphone to make sure, you know? So I think that's a big reason why a lot of female comedians do talk about sex and relationships a bit more. And yeah, I do talk a lot about it on stage. It's actually not all of it, but they seem to be the jokes that people remember.
Male comedians are fascinated.
Oh,
they are obsessed with talking about their dicks.
Yes.
What is the female version of dick jokes?
It's hard because dick jokes are like always braggy, right? Because if you have a joke about having a small dick, you don't have a small dick. And if you do, that's ridiculous. Stop joking about that. We already know you're a comedian. That's sad enough. But if they're big dick jokes, so much of the time they don't have one. I don't know. It's a weird... I don't know if there's a female ego thing as much. I'm just actually trying to think. I think maybe that's it, is talking about your hotness in a confident way. That's it. Like, just mentioning your appearance at all, like, is probably our version. Like, if you're putting yourself down or you're putting yourself up. But I think that, like, women talking about themselves in a positive light, especially from appearance, is probably our version, because it's kind of like a fuck you. Because funny women are never supposed to be attractive, if that makes sense.
I went on a date once with a guy from Hinge, and he told me that when he sees comedian on a woman's profile, that's a huge red flag.
How many people he'd be swiping on to see that frequently?
And how desperate would you have to be to match with someone with a red flag?
Oh, God. Exactly. That's ridiculous. Men have no standards. They are feral. Like, I honestly think if you just put, like, a speaker inside a blow-up doll, they wouldn't even recognize you weren't on the date.
Ali Wong famously said that when you become a successful female comedian, your dating options do not expand, they contract. Do you agree with that statement?
Oh, 100%. Especially in Australia, and I assume it might be the same in America, because, like, they don't tell you this, but every single man's dream, straight man especially, his dream is to become a stand-up comedian, because they all think they are the funniest thing in the world. And so, like, when they find out you're a stand-up comedian, they just see you as, like, the train to get there. They're like, oh my God, I'm gonna be Joe Rogan. I once went on a first date where he found out I was a comedian on the date because someone behind the bar, and again, I am not famous. I am decently, like, climbing up the Melbourne ladder, but I am not famous. The guy behind the bar on this first date recognized me from Comedy Untamed, which is a show that I run the Melbourne version of. Neil Kalaka runs the big Sydney one. We've got a great team. But he recognized me from one of our clips. And he was like, oh my God, you're that chick. That's how they say it. They don't say, oh my God, you're Stacey Gothard. I haven't gotten to that yet. I just got, you're that chick. And then the guy I was on a date with was like, oh my God, are you a comedian? And then he just went on and on and on and on about how he could do it. He's really funny. I could do it. I reckon I'd be really good. Like, to the point at which I was like, fine. And I called up one of my friends who, like, was running an open mic that night. And I was like, yo, if I come right now, can I just chuck on this guy, like, straight away? And he's like, yeah, sure, can do. So went to this open mic, put this guy right on stage, went on, like, had 5 minutes, bombed after 3, left the venue, clearly, like, got an Uber or something, deleted me off the dating app we matched on. And, like, it was one of the best dates I ever went on because I proved a point to myself, you know?
Are you into bodybuilders?
Absolutely not. I love men, like, skinny, pale, ranger, Irish. I want them to look like they just survived a famine. Like, that's what... I also love a ranger because they were bullied for so long throughout their life that you can get a really hot face on a ranger. Like, you can get a hot ranger. Like, if you put... It's like the bargain basement of men. Like, if you just take away the hair colour, they think, like, a 7 face will think they're a 4.
But what is it about a lanky, skinny, pale Irish guy that turns you on?
One, very non-threatening. Very like, I'm like, I can beat you up.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. Love that vibe for me. I also, I don't know, skinny guys are like, I just am fascinated by the fact that they can eat so much and still say, like, I'm envious of them. Like, I told my boyfriend the other day he looked skinny and he was somewhat offended. Do you imagine the privilege to be offended by being called skinny? The fuck? That's ridiculous. If someone called me skinny, you couldn't fucking talk to me the next week. I'd be like, get out of the way. I might fall through the crack in the door there. Like, just, you don't want to be near me. Skinny. And I talk like that the entire week. And then also, like, even though I'm not, like, not supposed to, like, not that this is about him, because I'm not allowed to talk about this, giant willies. Just absolute, that's like, you're wondering, like, where all their growing power is gone. It's the willy. That's it. Skinny, pale white men, giant willies. That's where it's at, from my research.
What did you used to do?
I used to work in asset management, which is sort of like a branch of finance. So I worked in legal and compliance for a hot second, and then also in marketing.
Doing 3 part-time jobs, isn't that equivalent of doing 1 full-time job?
Look, hindsight is 2020. When I quit my finance job, I went down to do a different marketing job. It was in a creative agency, and I was like, this is going to be so cool. Turns out not cool, not fun. They'll be like, you know, you have to stay back until 7 p.m, but there's a ping pong table. And I'm like, I feel like that's not an equal payoff. And then I did get to do comedy for a hot second just as that, but I'm privileged enough to have a mortgage. And so when the interest rates went up and, like, the economy fucking crashed, unfortunately I've had to pick up little jobs here and there. Like, I do freelance marketing, I've worked in cafes, I hang out with old people, you know, I'll do anything. I used to organise events at the cricket, even though I think cricket is the worst fucking sport on the planet. It's so boring. Just watch paint dry. It literally goes fast. A coat of paint dries faster than a cricket game, and that's ridiculous.
How did you know when you were ready to quit your asset management job?
It's kind of over it. Like, we'd come out of the pandemic. I discovered comedy. I started earning a decent little amount from comedy that would have got me through the week. And then I also had this different marketing job that I could have gone down and pay for a better job. I was like, this will be it. Stupid decision, so I stayed there. But I also don't think I could be where I am now if I had stayed in the financial role.
What is the comedy equivalent of a corporate ladder? Like, if you think of the intern as a comedian who goes to free open mics, what is the CEO and what are the levels to get there?
I feel like comedy is less a ladder and more doodle jump. You know, like, you just jump. Sometimes you fall down a bit and you jump back up again, and you never know if you're going to go well or if you're going to fall, you know? And you're just a little dude with a trumpeter's nose going up there. But I guess it starts at open mic. Like, if you're going to go, like, real technical, it's like open mic, which is the graveyard. Like, because some people never leave there, you know? They're just there forever, banished, you know, as they should. And then it's like the booked. So that's like where you get asked to be on a show, but you're not paid. Then there's a paid gig, and then you can just, I think it's just everything from there. It's just a different development of paid gig. It's like the more you get paid is the higher it is. I mean, you could go TV, you could go radio, you could just do club comedy full time, you could have podcasts. Like, it really depends. But I think, like, the top of comedy is what you want it to be, but it's ultimately, like, dollar based, I think. Like, if we're, like, looking at the ways up, it's just like what earns more money. Like, Joe Rogan, very successful, like, outside of his podcast, but probably known for his podcast. Jerry Seinfeld, very good for his comedy, but also from Seinfeld. Whereas you can, you know, take some people, like, you know, trying to think of someone who hasn't been cancelled, but, you know, you know, just up there purely just, like, even, like, look at Shane Gillis at the moment. Yes, he had his Tire show, but, like, absolutely killing it just as a club comic, you know, like that, like, doing his own shows and his podcast, which did lead into that. But there's so many different levels of, like, the top of comedy, you can't really tell. So I guess you just have to judge your own success based off of what you want from it.
Last words for an aspiring female comic. 3 words.
Beware, I'm like, beware men. Oh, wait, beware mentor. Like, you cannot trust them, they don't want to be your mentor. Or, fuck them all as well.
Stacey Gothard, it has been an absolute pleasure.
I wish I could say the same. So you guys just do look young forever. Forever. Like, my punishment for my ancestors being white and doing some fucked up shit is that I'm going to look like 80 when I'm 40.
Do you know the secret?
What?
We drink hot water.
It's not the secret. Fucking, you guys always, I feel like you guys do actually have a secret. You're keeping it from me. They're like, you guys did some fucked up shit. Like, we know what happened during the Vietnam
War.
War.
We eat fetuses.
No, but I feel like, I don't know, there's got to be like some herbs that you're just keeping for yourself, you know? Like, I know there is, because your guys' food tastes so much fucking better. So I reckon there's more secret herbs.
Maybe it's the soy sauce.
Maybe.
The preservatives.
Maybe.